Neon lights flash in the night, and the Shanghai Art Center building looks like a giant beast standing on the Huangpu River. It is magnificent on the outside, but there are always some unexplainable secrets hidden inside. Liu Wei pushed open the door of the police car, and the night wind mixed with the moisture from the river hit his face. He took a deep breath and rubbed his brows, trying to get rid of the lingering shadow in his mind. This is his third year as a criminal police officer, but it is the first time he has taken on such a big case alone. The theft of a famous painting from a high-end art museum sounds like the plot of a novel, but reality is always more troublesome than fiction. Team Liu, the scene has been sealed off. The police officer on duty at the door saluted. Liu Wei nodded, put on his gloves, and walked into the hall. The air was filled with a faint smell of oil paint, mixed with a trace of rust like blood. In the center of the exhibition hall, a Monet water lily painting worth tens of millions should have been hung in the spotlight, but now only the empty frame remains, with slight scratches on the edges, like evidence that it was hastily removed. Liu Wei squatted down and carefully checked the hook on the wall. There was no sign of forced destruction. The person who stole it was obviously an expert, and his technique was as clean as a professional performance. His eyes moved to the corner, where a body lay. The victim was a curatorial assistant at an art museum. The young man was named Li Chen. He was in his early 20s and was said to be a talented person who had just graduated from Fudan University. The body was curled up next to the display cabinet. There was an obvious impact injury on the head. Bloodstains were scattered on the smooth marble floor. It looked like an accidental fall. But Liu Wei frowned. This posture was wrong. Li Chen's right hand still holds a key, but his left hand points in the direction of the picture frame, as if he wants to grab something before dying. There were no obvious signs of slipping on the floor, and the surrounding exhibits were not disturbed. It's not an accident, absolutely not. Liu Wei stood up. The car accident 5 years ago flashed through his mind. My father was an old detective. When he was investigating a smuggling case, something happened. All he had left behind was an old yellowed photo, in which he still smiled brightly. From that day on, Liu Wei vowed to be a good policeman and prevent those shadows from swallowing innocent people again. This case touched a certain chord in his heart. He gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, "We can't let something like this happen again." "Captain Liu. Isn't this place too luxurious? One painting is worth 10 years of my salary." A passionate voice came from behind. Tianyou burst into the exhibition hall, still wearing the wrinkled police uniform, with messy hair, as if he had just climbed out of the dormitory. He is Liu Wei's partner, a rookie police detective who is full of enthusiasm but always impulsive like a young boy. "I heard that the paintings were stolen and people died. This must be the work of a mole. The collector Zhiwei, I heard that he came to the exhibition hall the day before yesterday and bought a few small paintings. Maybe he came here to check them out." Liu Wei turned his head, glanced at him, and spoke calmly but with a warning, "God bless, don't jump to conclusions yet. Zhiwei is a well-known collector, rich and powerful. We can't point fingers without evidence. Come on, help me see the posture of the corpse." He pointed to Li Chen's right hand. The key was engraved with the logo of the art museum, shining coldly. Tianyou came over and frowned. "Oh, this kid died miserably. It looks like he fell, but the floor is so slippery, how could he just hit his head? Captain Liu, what do you think? Did someone push him?" "It's possible." Liu Wei squatted down, gently opened Li Chen's collar, and found a shallow mark on his neck, hidden under the tie. This is not a simple accident. The time of the theft was 10 o'clock last night, and the surveillance showed that Li Chen was the last person to leave. But the traces of the painting being stolen were too professional. There was no lockpicking, no fuss, and it seemed like someone had a spare key. Zhiwei did come, but where's his alibi? We need to check. Tianyou patted his thigh excitedly. Yes. That guy Zhiwei, on the surface, loves art, but who knows behind the scenes? Those people in the art circle all smile under the hood. I heard that he has a special relationship with the curator Zhang Min. That woman, Zhang Min, is as elegant as if she stepped out of a painting, but I always feel that there is something fishy in her eyes. Liu Wei shook his head and stood up. Be cautious, God bless. The art world is deep and shiny on the surface, but underneath it is all greed and conspiracy. Zhang Min is a key figure. She is in charge of the entire exhibition. We have to ask her for questioning. But now, we must seal off the scene and call on all surveillance. He looked around. The chandelier in the hall cast a soft light. Other paintings on the wall were safe and sound. Only this Monet became a victim. Why is there such a murderous intention hidden in the urban art paradise? The two began to divide the work. Tianyou was responsible for taking photos and collecting evidence, while Liu Wei walked into the logistics room and rummaged through Li Chen's drawers. There were several invitations and a stack of documents scattered inside, one of which was signed by Zhiwei and dated exactly the day before the incident. Liu Wei's heart sank. This clue was too obvious, like a deliberately left bait. He rubbed his temples, and a photo of his father flashed through his mind. In that old photo, his father was staring at a similar theft case file. I can't make the same mistakes again, he thought, this time I have to dig to the bottom. Team Liu, someone is coming from outside. Forensic Dr. Lin Xiaoqing. Tianyou opened the door and came in, panting. Lin Xiaoqing is a senior forensic scientist in the police station. She is in her early 30s. She always wears a white coat and her hair is meticulously tied. She held the toolbox and nodded in greeting. Officer Liu, the preliminary examination of the body is complete. It seems that the death was caused by head trauma, but there are some doubts. I have to take it back to the station for a detailed autopsy. Liu Wei nodded. Excuse me, Dr. Lin. What are the preliminary findings at the scene? Lin Xiaoqing put on gloves and squatted next to the body. The strangulation marks were not obvious, but they were there. The stomach contents showed that his last meal was at 8 o'clock last night and he did not drink. The time of death was about 11 o'clock. But... She paused, took out the tablet from her bag, and clicked on a scan. This is a preliminary X-ray. There are faint signs of congestion around the neck. It doesn't look like a simple impact. There may be external force involved. Tianyou stepped forward. What do you mean? It's not an accident? Not sure yet, we have to wait for the report. Lin Xiaoqing stood up and motioned to her assistants to carry the body. But my intuition tells me that this case is not simple. In a place like the art museum, everything is calm on the surface, but who knows underneath? Liu Wei watched them leave, feeling even more suspicious. The urban art circle is like a gorgeous masquerade, with everyone wearing a mask on their face. There must be a bigger conspiracy behind Zhiwei, Zhang Min, and the stolen Monet. He turned to Tianyou and said, let's go back to the bureau. Inform Zhang Min and come tomorrow morning to record a statement. Tianyou nodded and muttered as he walked, Liu Captain, why do you think this painting is Monet? I heard that it is the museum's treasure, and it is valuable, but why steal it? Sell it on the black market? Black market. Liu Wei repeated in a low voice, thinking of his father's case back then, which was also art smuggling and involved a family feud. He clenched his fists, and this time, he wouldn't back down. When we returned to the police station, it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. Liu Wei made a cup of strong coffee and leaned on his chair to wait for the report. The phone vibrated, and a message from Lin Xiaoqing popped up. The preliminary forensic report has been sent to your email. Focus on page 3, there is abnormal data. He clicked on the attachment and scanned several pages of professional terms. The heartbeat accelerated, and the blood oxygen saturation curve on page 3 showed signs of brief suffocation before death, not caused by a fall. What's even weirder is that preliminary toxicology screening revealed trace amounts of sedatives remaining. This is not an accident, this is murder. Liu Wei narrowed his eyes and stared at the data on the screen. Behind the lights of the art museum, the hidden conspiracy is slowly emerging. Who did it? Is Zhiwei's alibi really that perfect? Liu Wei rubbed his red eyes and stared at the forensic report on the computer screen until the sky turned white. microsedation, signs of suffocation. It was definitely murder. Zhiwei's alibi sounds perfect. He was at a charity dinner in Pudong on the night of the crime. There were a lot of witnesses, and photographic evidence was everywhere. But Liu Wei always felt that something was wrong. Just like his father's old case, the superficial evidence was ironclad, but underneath there were layers of lies. He closed the computer and grabbed his coat. God bless, wake up. Let's leave at 8 o'clock and go to the art museum to ask Zhang Min. Tianyou jumped up from the sofa and rubbed his messy hair. Last night, he stayed at the bureau to help sort out the evidence, with dark circles in his eyes. Good morning, Captain Liu. Have you finished reading the report? Then the sedative is the key, right? Li Chen must have been drugged, and then someone took the opportunity to steal the painting. That guy Zhiwei, charity dinner? Ha, the trick of the rich man, who knows if it is fake? Stop guessing, verify first. Liu Wei handed him a cup of hot soy milk, with the patience of a big brother in his tone. God bless this kid, it's good that he's hot-blooded, but he's always like a wild horse running wild, prone to getting into trouble. Liu Wei remembered that when he was a novice, he had missed clues due to impulsiveness. At that time, he was just a bystander in his father's case. The first lesson he learned was, the truth is hidden in the details, not intuition. Remember, the art world is a deep one, let's take it step by step. The sun shines into the art center building. The smell of blood from last night has been covered up by the detergent, and the exhibition hall has returned to its usual gorgeous appearance. Liu Wei and Tianyou showed their IDs, and the security guard led them straight to the exhibition room. As soon as the door opened, a faint scent of lavender hit my nostrils. Zhang Min was sitting behind the mahogany table, wearing an off-white silk shirt and her hair tied into an elegant bun, like a lady stepping out of an oil painting. She raised her head and stood up with a smile. Officer Liu, good morning. I was shocked when I heard about Li Chen. Please sit down and I will try my best to cooperate. Liu Wei nodded, and when he sat down, he noticed that her fingers were trembling slightly, and her eyes glanced at the Huangpu River outside the window, avoiding his gaze. Ms. Zhang, thank you for taking the time. On the night of the incident, Li Chen was your assistant, and he left the exhibition hall last. Can you tell me what happened that day? Zhang Min poured 2 cups of tea, his movements smooth but slightly deliberate. She took a sip of tea and said in a soft voice, Li Chen is a good kid who loves art. We were busy until 9 o'clock that night, sorting out the details of the exhibition. Around 10 o'clock, he said he was going to lock the door, and I was working on the documents in the office. When I heard the noise, everything was too late. She paused, and a trace of sadness flashed in her eyes. The police said it was an accident? I don't believe it, he is such a careful person. Tianyou couldn't help but interrupt and came closer. Ms. Zhang, do you have a good relationship with Mr. Zhiwei? The day before the incident, he came to buy paintings and sign documents. I heard that he collected many masterpieces. Is there anything suspicious about him this time Monet was stolen? Zhang Min's smile froze, and she glanced at the table with evasive eyes. Zhiwei is an old customer, an art collector, and a well-known connoisseur in the Shanghai circle. He came to the exhibition the day before yesterday and bought 2 impressionist sketches for pure appreciation. On the night of the crime, his alibi was very clear at the Oriental Pearl Tower attending a charity dinner at the nearby Ritz Hotel. The organizer was the Art Foundation, but I left in the middle. He was there from 8 o'clock to midnight, and he had all the photos and signatures. Zhiwei has a lot of connections, so there is no need for him to steal paintings. His collection room is like a private museum. Liu Wei listened and nodded on the surface, but he was making calculations in his heart. Zhang Min spoke impeccably, but her eyes seemed to be hiding some dark secret. He changed his perspective. Ms. Zhang, can you tell us more about Zhiwei's collecting background? The art black market has been very active recently. I heard that some people are decent on the surface but reselling fakes secretly. She chuckled and shook her head. Officer Liu, you are too worried. Zhiwei is a serious businessman, engaged in import and export trade, and art is his hobby. Black market? Those dirty things are far away from us. Having said that, her fingers unconsciously twisted the silk scarf on the table, and her eyes drifted out of the window again. Tianyou's blood surged when he heard that. He slapped the table and stood up. "Miss Zhang, what you said doesn't sound right. Li Chen is dead and the painting is gone, but you are protecting Zhiwei? What if he is a mole? We have to check the surveillance. Don't you have any objections?" Zhang Min's face changed, and her elegant mask cracked. "Officer Tian, please respect yourself. I am cooperating with the investigation, not asking you to point your nose and curse. You can watch the surveillance, but don't mess around. This is an art museum, not a police station." She pressed the intercom on the table and her voice was a little colder. "Security, come here." Liu Wei grabbed Tianyou's sleeve and glared at him. "Sit down, Tianyou." "Miss Zhang, I'm sorry, I'm a newbie partner, and I'm overzealous. We really need to watch the surveillance. Can we arrange the footage that night?" He sighed inwardly. This kid was impulsive again, but he also reminded himself that he had to teach him to restrain himself. "My father missed key evidence because his partner was too hasty." The security guard came in and Zhang Min waved him to take them to the control room. In the corridor, Tianyou muttered in a low voice, "Captain Liu, there is definitely something wrong with her. Her eyes are evasive, as if she is acting. Zhiwei's dinner proved that she might have been bribed." "Don't worry, let's look at the evidence first." Liu Wei patted him on the shoulder, with a hint of elder gentleness in his tone. In the control room, the screen flashed blue light, and the technician brought up the picture at 10 o'clock that night. In the picture, Li Chen is patrolling the exhibition hall. His movements are normal. At 10:15, he walks towards the picture frame and bends down to check something. Suddenly, the lights flashed, the picture shook, and the frame became empty. Li Chen turned around, as if he heard a noise, and then he stumbled to the ground and hit his head on the display cabinet. Liu Wei zoomed in on the screen and narrowed his eyes. "Stop. Here, look at Li Chen's shadow." At 10:18, a vague figure flashed through the side door, not the outline of Li Chen. He is about 1.8 meters tall and wearing a windbreaker. "How tall is Zhiwei?" The technician checked the information. Zhiwei is 1.785 meters tall and has a matching body shape. But the dinner photos show that he was delivering a speech on stage at that time. A match does not mean it is him. Liu Wei pointed to the corner of the screen. "Look here." The light reflected from the floor. The shadow has a detail. Something is worn on the wrist, like a jade ring. Zhiwei has a collecting habit, and it is said that he loves antique jade. This is a flaw, and there is a loophole in the alibi. Tianyou came up to him excitedly. "Captain Liu, you're awesome. We've got the handle now. We'll summon Zhiwei right away." As soon as he finished speaking, there was an argument outside the door. It turns out that Tianyou's impulsiveness just made the security guard take revenge. The guy blocked the door and shouted, "You policemen can't break in." Miss Zhang said, "Private documents are not allowed to be touched." Tianyou became angry and pushed the security guard away. "Get out of here, we are handling the case." A small conflict broke out, and the security guard called the police. Liu Wei quickly broke up the fight. "That's enough, God bless. Apologize." He turned to the security guard and handed over his ID. "Misunderstanding, we don't move things." Taking advantage of the chaos, God bless caught a glimpse of a small booklet, a black leather diary, falling out of the security guard's waist, with Zhang Min's personal mark on the cover. With quick eyes and quick hands, he picked it up and stuffed it into his pocket without the security guard paying attention. On the way back to the exhibition hall, Tianyou lowered his head guiltily. "Captain Liu, I'm sorry, I was impulsive again. The security guard just now made me so angry. But I picked up this." He handed over the diary, and Liu Wei opened it. The first page read, "I left in the middle of Zhiwei's dinner to meet an old friend. I can't let him know about the black market." Liu Wei's heart sank. Zhang Min's double game? The diary also mentioned several old cases involving family feuds, which were strikingly similar to his father's photos. He closed the book and whispered, "Good clues, but don't tell anyone. God bless you, you are lucky this time, but remember next time, impulsiveness will ruin things." The signs of the involvement of the art black market are becoming more and more obvious. This case is not a single theft, but a series. We have to verify Zhiwei's proof in person and go to the dinner organizer to dig out the details. Tianyou nodded and did not talk back for the first time. Well, Captain Liu, I'll learn from it. Those people in the black market are said to control the entire underground art circle in Shanghai. The paintings they steal are not sold for money, but in exchange for information. What if Li Chen bumps into something? Liu Wei looked out the window. The river was rolling and the neon lights were dim. An old photo of his father flashed through his mind, and the shadow behind it seemed to reappear in this case. Zhang Min's diary, the flaws in surveillance, Zhiwei's suspicious behavior, everything is slowly coming together like a puzzle. But a bigger mystery is quietly crawling out from under the gorgeous shell of the art museum. In the afternoon, they had to rush to Pudong to burst the bubble of perfect proof. The afternoon sun in Pudong was dazzling. Liu Wei drove a police car on the viaduct, and the river breeze mixed with the hustle and bustle of the neon city hit his face. Tianyou was sitting in the passenger seat, staring at the photos of the dinner on his mobile phone, showing Zhang Zhiwei's smiling face. Captain Liu, you said this guy was giving a speech on stage, but his steps were chaotic. At a charity dinner, who would pay attention to when he leaves? We have to ask the organizer for complete sign-in records. Maybe there is an opening. Liu Wei held the steering wheel tightly, still recalling the sentence in Zhang Min's diary, "Don't let him know about the black market." He glanced at Tianyou and said calmly, "Don't jump to conclusions yet. The evidence of the dinner is ironclad, but we have a shadow flaw in the surveillance. Go see Lin Shaoqing in the afternoon and go over the forensic report in detail. The dose of sedatives and the time of death are the key. Remember, you were lucky to pick up the diary impulsively last night, but next time you have to be smart before taking action." Tianyou scratched his head and smiled. "Captain Liu, I know I was wrong. I just couldn't stand the look of the security guard, as if he was hiding something dirty." Forensic Dr. Lin reported that Li Chen was an accident. Impossible, it was definitely the work of an insider. In the art museum, who knows how many people are coveting that Monet? The police forensic room is on the second underground floor, and the air is filled with the smell of disinfectant. Lin Shaoqing was wearing blue gloves and stood beside the autopsy table. Li Chen's autopsy report and several enlarged photos were spread out on the table. She is a tall and slender woman with short, sleek hair and eyes that always look like she is looking for hidden levels in a puzzle game. Seeing Liu Wei and Tianyou coming in, she took off her mask and nodded in greeting. "Team Liu, Officer Tian, you're here just in time. I have just detailed the report, and there are some abnormalities that need to be explained clearly." Liu Wei pulled up his chair and sat down, then went straight to the point. "Shaoqing, where's the source of the sedative? The dose is enough to stun people, but it is not fatal. The time of death does not match the theft. What's going on?" Lin Shaoqing pushed up her glasses and pointed to the timeline on the report. Li Chen's time of death, based on body temperature and rigor mortis, was accurately between 10:25 and 10:30 in the evening. The surveillance showed that the painting was stolen at 10:18, and he died within 2 minutes after falling to the ground. But Xinjian, it took at least half an hour for the drug to take effect. The concentration in his blood showed that he was drugged around 8:30. He was still patrolling the exhibition hall and was in good spirits. Who did it? It was definitely an insider. The coffee machine and water cup in the art museum may have been tampered with. Tianyou came closer to the photo, his eyes widened. Internal crime? Zhang Min said she would be in the office after 9 o'clock, and Li Chen would make the rounds on his own. Who would have the chance to take the medicine at 8:30? Zhiwei was at the dinner party that night, 10 kilometers away from the art museum, and couldn't make it back. Lin Shaoqing shook her head and turned to another page. More than that. The death was not just suffocation. There were slight strangulation marks on his neck, as if someone had stabbed him while he was unconscious. The bloodstains reflected on the floor were not captured by surveillance, but the test showed that there were foreign footprints, leather shoe sole patterns, high-end goods, common in the art circle. Team Liu, this case points to an insider, theft is a cover, and murder is the purpose. Li Chen may have bumped into something, he shouldn't have seen it. Liu Wei's heart sank, and the shadow of his father's old case flashed back. An accident on the surface, but a trap underneath. He nodded. Thank you, Xiaoqing. This clue is strong enough. The crime was committed internally. No matter how perfect Zhiwei's proof is, it will not stop his associates from helping. Next, we will go straight to his house and track his whereabouts. Tianyou clenched his fist and his blood surged. Yes. Captain Liu, let's get going. Zhiwei's mansion is in the Jing'an Temple area. I heard it's like a fortress with tight security. We have to find a way to sneak in and find his collection room. After leaving the forensic room, Liu Wei called the bureau's technical team to check Zhiwei's call records and vehicle trajectory. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, their car parked beside a secluded tree-lined avenue in Jing'an district. Zhiwei's villa is hidden behind a high wall, with the iron gate tightly closed and surveillance cameras scanning around, as exquisite as a work of art. Tianyou put on his peaked cap and whispered, Captain Liu, there is a blind spot at the back door. I learned it the last time I followed a thief. Climb over the wall to get in. Liu Wei frowned. Don't be impatient. The technical team said that he will be back at 2 o'clock and is at home now. Let's pretend to deliver documents and sneak in. He pressed the doorbell and said in a calm voice, Mr. Zhiwei? Shanghai Police Station, Liu Wei. I have a few questions that I want to talk to in person. The butler's voice came from inside the door. After a moment of hesitation, the iron door slowly opened. The butler is a man in his early 50s, wearing a crisp suit, with alert eyes. Sir, I'm in the study. Please follow me, but don't touch things. The interior of the villa is like a private art gallery, with oil paintings hanging on the walls of the hall and a faint smell of canvas floating in the air. Liu Wei glanced around as he walked, and Tianyou followed behind, his eyes rolling. The study door opened, and Zhiwei was sitting on a mahogany chair with a glass of red wine in front of him. He was about 50 years old, with gray hair, and a kind but prickly smile. Officer Liu, I didn't expect to come so soon. I have given you proof of the charity dinner. Come, sit down. What would you like to drink? Liu Wei sat down, did not accept the drink, and looked directly into his eyes. Mr. Zhiwei, the check-in at the dinner is irrefutable evidence, but we have made new discoveries. The shadow in the surveillance, the jade ring on your wrist, matches your collection. Li Chen took Chinese medicine at 8:30 and committed the crime internally. Were you really at the scene that night? Zhiwei's smile froze and he coughed softly. Jade ring? It's just an artist's hobby. I will start the dinner from beginning to end, starting at 8 o'clock and ending at 10:30. Ask the organizer, they have many connections and a lot of evidence. Tianyou couldn't help but interrupt and came closer. Sir, where's your collection room? I heard that there are mountains of famous paintings in it. We have to verify whether there is any shadow of Monet. Zhiwei's eyes flashed with panic, and he waved the butler out. Collection room? It's a private place, it's inconvenient. But since you are the police, I will show you. Follow. They walked through the corridor and came to the basement door. Zhiwei entered the password, the door slid open, and the lights came on inside. Rows of glass cabinets filled with antique porcelain, oil painting reproductions, and even a few impressionist works that looked familiar. Tianyou whispered excitedly, Team Liu, look here. The painting in the corner has a style like Monet, but the signature is blurry. Liu Wei came closer, looked closely at the cabinet lock, and noticed a trace of uneven dust. He squatted down, felt the gap in the floor, and pried it gently. A dark panel popped open, revealing a hidden compartment. Instead of paintings, there were stacks of documents and a few yellowed fragments of photos. Liu Wei's heart beat faster and he picked up one, a blurry black and white photo of a young man holding a paintbrush. The background was an alley in old Shanghai, with a community logo on the back, like a lotus pattern. This is... Liu Wei murmured. His father's old photo album flashed through his mind, and the marks were exactly the same. Family feud? Zhiwei's collection is not only art, but also the shadows of the past. At this moment, footsteps sounded outside the door. Zhang Min pushed open the door and walked in, wearing a black windbreaker with a pale face. Officer Liu? Why are you here? Zhiwei, you didn't say on the phone that the police were coming. Zhiwei turned around and said in a low voice, Minner, why are you here? This is a private matter. Zhang Min's eyes were complicated and he glanced at Liu Wei. I heard that you were checking the dinner party, so I'm here to help. I can confirm Zhiwei's proof. I left the dinner party in the middle to go see an old friend, but he was always there. I know a little bit about the black market, but he didn't do it. Officer Liu, listen to me, the water in this area is deep, don't dig around. Liu Wei stood up, and his insight caught her finger twisting the corner of her clothes again. Miss Zhang, help? In the diary, you wrote, don't let him know about the black market. Your relationship with Zhiwei is not just an old client, right? This photo fragment is the mark of the Lotus Society, a gangster art society in old Shanghai. Is the family feud involved? Zhang Min's face changed and his voice trembled. That's an old thing. My grandfather had a dispute with the Zhiwei family back then, but it has nothing to do with this case. Trust me, I will provide clues, but don't force me to reveal my personal motives. Tianyou's blood boiled and he slapped the table and said, private motives? Miss Zhang, you are doing this again. Team Liu, we have to withhold these photos. Zhiwei, your dinner party proved to be flawed. The technical team just sent the message. At 10:10, your vehicle trajectory showed that you left the hotel 5 minutes and came back 2 minutes late. Where did you go? The art museum? Zhiwei's face was ashen and sweat was pouring from his forehead. Impossible. That's the driver's fault. Liu Wei sneered and waved the trajectory map on the tablet. The driver's testimony is inconsistent. At 10:12, your car was near the art museum. The shadow belongs to you, and the jade ring pointed out that he betrayed you. The alibi is partly a lie. Tell me, who is the accomplice? The shadow of the Lotus Society has surfaced. This is not just theft, but a continuation of old grudges. Zhang Min took a step back, the suspicion in his eyes as thick as river fog. Tianyou pulled Liu Wei and whispered, Liu Captain, she is definitely hiding something. The Black Market Society controls everything, we have to dig deeper. Zhiwei slumped in his chair, the air filled with conspiracy. Liu Wei looked out the window. The setting sun stretched its shadow, like a ghost in an old photo, approaching the core of the truth step by step. The air in Zhiwei's study was like solidified glue, so sticky that it made people breathless. Liu Wei put away the tablet and locked his eyes on Zhiwei's pale face. Vehicle tracks don't lie, sir. At 10:12, your car was parked around the art museum for 3 full minutes. The shadow of the jade ring finger, the old mark of the Lotus Society, this is not just a theft, but the grudges of you old gangsters. Tell me, who is the accomplice? What did Li Chen bump into that made you ruthless? Zhiwei's hand shook as he held the wine glass, and a few drops of red wine spilled, staining his white shirt red. He glanced at Zhang Min and said in a hoarse voice, Minner, this matter must be resolved privately. The police don't understand the rules of the art circle. Lotus Club? That was a ghost story from the last century. My grandfather was indeed involved back then, but now? It's purely a coincidence. Zhang Min retreated to the door, his fingers under his windbreaker clenching his cell phone tightly. She opened her mouth, but didn't speak. Her eyes only wandered between Liu Wei and Zhiwei, like the mist on the riverside, hiding countless secrets. Tianyou couldn't help but take a step forward and said with enthusiasm, coincidence? Captain Liu, the photo fragments hidden in the collection room are definitely clues. Zhiwei, don't try to fool us. The Black Market Society controls the art, we have to take them all away. Liu Wei waved his hand to stop Tianyou, his mind spinning rapidly. His father's old case and the symbol of the Lotus Society always sent shivers down his spine. But now is not the time for reminiscing. He turned to Zhang Min, Miss, you are here by chance. The black market in the diary is now seen with my own eyes. Help? Or do you want to delay? Let's go, the technical team's data is still waiting to be dug up. It was already dark when they left the villa. In the police car, Tianyou was still flipping through his cell phone excitedly. "Captain Liu, I took high-definition photos of those photo fragments. I heard that the Lotus Club is a gangster in old Shanghai that specializes in laundering art money. Zhiwei's collection room is simply a black market warehouse. We have to track his communication records. Maybe there is evidence of a meeting." Liu Wei nodded and held the steering wheel slightly harder. The afterglow of the setting sun poured in through the car window, illuminating the fatigue in his eyes. "My father's clues about chasing the Lotus Club were cut off in this way, an accidental car accident, leaving only a yellowed photo album." He shook his head and shook his thoughts away. "Go back to the bureau. Analyze the surveillance data first. Zhiwei's dinner proved to be a hole, but the black market clues have to start from the edges. A serial case of art theft. In the past 3 months, antique thefts have also occurred frequently. It is not a coincidence." The technical room of the police station was brightly lit, and the computer screen flashed green. Liu Wei and Tianyou huddled in front of the workbench. Technician Xiao Wang handed over the USB flash drive. "Team Liu, Zhiwei's vehicle trajectory has expanded. During the dinner, his mobile phone signal had a blind spot. At around 10 o'clock, it connected to an encrypted hotspot located in the old warehouse area on the edge of Pudong. It is on the edge of the black market, and art smuggling is common." Liu Wei put on his headphones and stared at the surveillance mosaic on the screen. The scene cuts to Zhiwei's luxury car, parked outside the warehouse at night. An unknown figure wearing a hat approaches, whispers a few words, and hands over a small package. Timestamp, 10:15, right in the middle of the theft at the art museum. "This is the record of the meeting," Liu Wei whispered. "The unknown person, the package in his hand looks like a scroll or a document." Tianyou's eyes lit up and he banged his fist on the table. "Captain Liu. This proves that he skipped the job and went to the black market to meet up. Inside the package, there might be evidence of Li Chen or a list of antiques for the next target. We have to go to the warehouse area to find out." Liu Wei frowned. "Don't worry. The warehouse area is a gray area with many traps. First adjust the surrounding surveillance and look for the face of the unknown person." But Tianyou's blood was like a runaway horse. He grabbed his coat and said, "Liu Captain, I'll check out the spot first. On the edge of the black market, there are few people at night, so I'll be careful. Take a few photos and report back." Before Liu Wei could stop him, Tianyou had already rushed out the door. Liu Wei's heart tightened. He grabbed the car keys and followed. An inner monologue flashed through. "This kid never learns to restrain himself. Like me back then, impulsiveness ruined everything." The warehouse district is in the outer ring of Pudong, with sparse neon lights and the smell of sea breeze and engine oil in the air. Liu Wei's car was parked in a dark place and he scanned Tianyou's back through the binoculars. The kid wore a hat and sneaked into the edge of an old factory building. The lights of the black market vendors flickered dimly. Tianyou lowered his head to play with his mobile phone, pretending to be a passerby, and approached a stall selling fake antiques. The stall owner is a skinny monkey-like man with a sneaky look in his eyes. "Brother, what can I buy?" "Ming and Qing porcelain, cheap." Tianyou lowered his voice and came closer. "I heard that there are genuine goods here. Do you know the clues about the Lotus Club and the meeting with Zhiwei?" The stall owner's expression changed and he whistled. Suddenly, 2 strong men emerged from the darkness, one on the left and one on the right holding Tianyou between them. One of them growled, "Boy, you're asking too many questions. Police dogs are not welcome in the black market." Tianyou struggled and pushed his knee into one person's abdomen, but the other one had already pulled out an iron rod and hit him on the back of the head. "Damn it!" Liu Wei cursed, jumped out of the car door, and rushed over with the roar of the engine. The headlights were dazzling, and the strong men were stunned. Tianyou took the opportunity to escape with an elbow and threw himself towards the roadside. Liu Wei braked suddenly, knocking over the stall with the front of his car and shattering the porcelain on the floor. He got out of the car with his gun drawn and yelled, "Police! Let him go!" The chase scene breaks out instantly. 2 strong men ran away, one ran into the side alley of the factory building, and the other climbed over the iron gate. Tianyou gasped and got up. Captain Liu, I was wrong. They have guns. Liu Wei pulled him into the car and turned around to chase the guy who climbed over the fence. The tires scraped against the ground, making a sharp squeal, and the night wind howled. The suspect ran into the narrow alley. Liu Wei stepped on the accelerator, and the car grazed the wall, sparks flying. Hold on! Liu Wei shouted. Tianyou grabbed the armrest, his eyes widened. The suspect turned into a dead end, panicked and climbed onto the trash can, trying to climb over the wall. Liu Wei jumped out of the car and kicked the box over. The opponent fell to the ground. Liu Wei pounced on him and suppressed him. Do it? A lackey from the black market. Tell me, what is the package for Zhiwei's meeting? The suspect gasped and spat out. Don't ask. There are several thefts of Lotus Club items and antique lists. Zhiwei is just the middleman, and the leader is inside the art museum. Liu Wei handcuffed him, turned to glare at Tianyou. Next time you act impulsively, I will personally lock you up. This is not a game. What if you lose your life? Tianyou lowered his head, feeling guilty. Captain Liu, I'm sorry. I thought I could be more independent. You saved my life. From now on, I will listen to you and turn my head first. Liu Wei patted him on the shoulder, feeling warm in his heart. Pressure surged in, and his father's shadow reappeared. He had impulsively pursued that old case and almost lost his life. The wound ached like an old scar, but this time, he was more focused. For the sake of the truth and not to repeat the same mistakes. He took a deep breath. Let's go back to the station. The black market clues are connected to the stolen antiques. This case is big. Technology tracking is the key. The phone suddenly vibrated and it was Zhang Min's number. Liu Wei picked up the answer with a calm voice. Ms. Zhang, is it so late? On the other end of the phone, her voice was urgent and windy. Officer Liu, I'm waiting for you at the coffee shop. Don't bring anyone else, just you. I have evidence about the black market, Zhiwei's meeting records and old photos of the Lotus Club. But you have to keep it secret. I'm not innocent, curator. I have a double identity, and my grandfather's legacy is too involved. The theft and the theft of antiques are connected in a USB, and there is technological tracking data in it. Come on, don't let Tianyou know, he is too aggressive. Liu Wei was shocked, hung up the phone, and looked at Tianyou. You go back to the office first, and I'll go see someone. Remember, learn to wait. Tianyou nodded, his eyes firmer. Captain Liu, be careful. The fog in the black market will always lift. Liu Wei drove towards the city center. In the night, the lights of the river bridge were like stars. He was thinking, the clues of Zhang Min's dual identity have emerged. The old grievances of the Lotus Society, the tracking of technological chips, this turning point will reveal the context of the serial thefts. Under pressure, his inner trauma turned into fuel, pushing him forward. The neon lights of the cafe were in sight. When the door opened, Zhang Min's face was hidden in the shadows, waiting to reveal the secret truth. The doorbell of the coffee shop rang softly, and Liu Wei pushed the door open and entered. The neon lights reflected mottled light and shadow on the glass windows. Zhang Min was sitting in a booth in the corner, with a cold latte in front of her and her windbreaker collar pulled up, as if she was guarding against every look around her. She looked up and saw him, nodded slightly, and said in a very low voice, Officer Liu, sit down. There are few people here, but there are many ears. Liu Wei pulled up his chair and sat down, looking around. There were only a few office workers in the store who had returned from the night and were scrolling through their phones. He looked directly at her. Where are the USBs? Black market meeting records, old photos of the Lotus Club, and those technology chip tracking data. What do you mean by dual identities? Besides the curator, who are you? Zhang Min tapped her fingers under the table, hesitated for 2 seconds, took out a small USB flash drive from her bag, and pushed it over. Go on first. There is a video of Zhiwei's meeting in it, which I intercepted from the backdoor surveillance of the art museum. The unknown person is a middleman in the black market. The bag in his hand, the package was a list of antiques, marking stolen goods within 3 months. The chip technology was their new trick to be embedded in the art and use the app to track the buyers to avoid police interception. But Li Chen, he discovered the loopholes in this system and ran into Zhiwei trading in the museum. Liu Wei took the U-disc and stuffed it into his pocket, his eyes unchanged. How did Li Chen die? There are abnormalities in the forensic report, but it is not certain. How much do you know? She bit her lip, her voice as cold as the river breeze. My grandfather was an old member of the Lotus Society, a Shanghai gangster in the last century who specialized in laundering art money. The family left behind this mess. I am a curator on the surface, but secretly, an intelligence broker, providing clues to the police in exchange for protection. Zhiwei and I have an old relationship. However, he is deeply involved in the black market, and his leader is hidden within the art circle. Li Chen is my assistant, and he accidentally found my grandfather's old diary, which mentioned the grievances of the Lotus Society. The grandfather of the Zhiwei family cheated my grandfather of a sum of antique money, which led to the bankruptcy of the family. Li Chen wanted to persuade me to call the police. Before she finished speaking, a flash of pain flashed in her eyes. Liu Wei quickly pieced together the pieces in his mind: old grudges, black market chips, Zhiwei's package. This isn't just a theft, it's a whirlpool of family revenge. He nodded. I will verify the evidence. But why are you saying it now? Are you afraid that Zhiwei will bite you back? He is already panicking, Zhang Min whispered. The call tonight was because I heard the news. The leader of the black market wants to clean up the person. Li Chen's death was not an accident. Go check the autopsy. The poisonous residue comes from the source of Zhiwei's collection, a rare plant extract disguised as an art restorer. Liu Wei stood up and lowered his voice. I will keep it a secret, but God has to know part of it. Don't play tricks, Miss Zhang. I will clear away the fog in the art world. When he left, the night wind ruffled his hair, and there was a flash in his heart. His father's old case also involved the Lotus Society. This time, he won't let his impulse ruin things. He has to take it step by step. At dawn, the smell of disinfectant water was pungent in the forensic room of the police station. Liu Wei pushed the door open and walked in. Lin Xiaoqing was wearing gloves and bending over to adjust the focus in front of the microscope. She raised her head and pushed up her glasses. Captain Liu, so early? Do you want to re-examine Li Chen's autopsy report? The abnormality reported on the phone last night was heart failure, but the data was biased. Liu Wei handed over the USB flash drive. The clues given by Zhang Min: black market poisons, plant extracts, mixed in art restoration agents. Help me confirm and point to the source of Zhiwei's collection. Lin Xiaoqing nodded and took the sample box. Okay, I will draw blood and stomach contents. Technology tracking chips is new, but toxicology is an old trick. Give me 2 hours. She turned around and got busy. Liu Wei leaned against the door and watched her careful movements. Past trauma had left him accustomed to being a loner, but now, he has learned to trust like a guiding god. 2 hours later, Lin Xiaoqing took off her gloves and said with a solemn expression, confirmed. There is a trace amount of lotus toxin in the blood. It is a rare plant imported from Southeast Asia. It is colorless and odorless and can be dissolved in wine or paint. In Zhiwei's collection room, there is a batch of antiques that have been treated with similar repair agents. I checked the import records and found that the source was his private supplier, a black market channel. Before Li Chen died, he checked the frame and found that he had come into contact with his skin, and the dose accumulated to cause death. It was not an accident, it was intentional. Liu Wei clenched his fist slightly. Okay. Zhiwei's meeting, there may be a list of this poison in the package. Thanks, Xiaoqing. This clue has nailed him. He turned and left, with the logic in his mind as clear as a puzzle. The poison came from the collection, Zhiwei was transferred, and Li Chen ran into it. The proof of his growth is that he is no longer impatient but integrates all the pieces. At the same time, Tianyou was in the logistics room of the art museum, his enthusiasm much restrained. Wearing a fake ID, he pretended to be conducting an interview, and approached an old employee, the janitor aunt of the art museum. She was in her early 50s, and there were stories hidden in her wrinkles. Auntie, there has been chaos in the museum recently. Have you heard about Li Chen? Curator assistant, why did you? The aunt wiped the floor and sighed. Hey, young man, the art world is in trouble. Li Chen is a nice person, but he is nosy. Miss Zhang and him are friendly on the surface, but privately they have old grudges. I heard that the Li Chen family is an old servant of the Zhang family. When the Lotus Club went bankrupt, the Zhang family's grandfather was so angry that Grandpa Li Chen took the money and ran away. The grievances were passed down, and Li Chen wanted to reconcile, but Tianyou's heart skipped a beat, and he lowered his voice. Grudge? Is there any evidence? The aunt hesitated, took out a crumpled old photo from her bib, and handed it over. I picked this up, and it fell out of Li Chen's drawer. It's a little blurry, but it can be seen that Zhang Min and Li Chen's family were in an old alley in Shanghai when they were young. There is the mark of the Lotus Club in the background. Family secrets, don't spread them randomly. Tianyou carefully took the photo, thanked his aunt, and rushed out of the museum. The passion was still there, but this time he did not go alone, but went straight to Liu Wei, Team Liu. The clues given by the art museum employees revealed that Zhang Min and Li Chen had old grudges, family bankruptcy, Lotus Club's money dispute. This photo proves that they knew each other when they were children, and their background is the gang's lair. After Liu Wei listened in the office, he stared at the photo and thought, Zhang Min's dual identity, not only an intelligence broker, but also a private revenge? Poison, meetings, old photos, everything points to the interior of the art gallery. He called Zhang Min, come to the bureau. The three of us will meet, you, Tianyou, and me. Don't bring anyone with you. The motives must be explained clearly. Half an hour later, the air in the interrogation room was tense. Zhang Min sat across from him, taking off his windbreaker to reveal an elegant shirt, but his eyes wandered. Tianyou leaned against the wall, holding the photo, with Liu Wei in the middle, and his voice was steady. Ms. Zhang, the U-disc has been verified. In the video of the meeting, the package Zhiwei received showed traces of poison. Lin Shaoqing confirmed that the residue pointed to your supply of repair agent. But this old photo. Li Chen's family got involved in the Lotus Club's money, and your grandfather went bankrupt. The grudge has persisted until now, and the motive is revenge? Zhang Min's hand trembled and she took a deep breath. Officer Liu, your reasoning is correct. But it was not me. Li Chen is my assistant. He wants to help me dig up the old accounts of Lotus Club and prove the family's innocence. We chased the black market leader together. Zhiwei is just a pawn. The photo is a childhood memory. My parents died in the Lotus Society's internal fight, and Li Chen's family betrayed them and took the money and ran away. But Li Chen later came back to apologize and we reconciled. Before he died, he gave me a diary and said that he saw Zhiwei implanting a chip in the museum to mark the next target of theft, the Qing Dynasty jade in the National Museum. Tianyou took a step forward, and his blood surged. Reconciliation? Then why are you hiding it? The black market leader is inside the art museum. Who do you think he is? Don't beat around the bush, Captain Liu. This woman has dual identities. It sounds like she is an undercover intelligence broker, but the grudge is too deep. Liu Wei waved his hand to stop Tianyou, and locked eyes with Zhang Min. Tianyou, back off. Miss Zhang, I believe part of your dual identity. But the motive must be proven. Chip tracking, the jade in the National Museum, this is the tale of the serial case. Tell me, who is the leader? Why didn't you call the police earlier for Zhiwei's meeting? Zhang Min's face was pale and his voice was trembling. The leader is the curator's brother, hiding in the planning department. The old man of the Lotus Club, using technology to revive the black market. I didn't report it because I was afraid of implicating the family. But after Li Chen died, I was afraid. There is chip frequency data in the USB. You can track down the next trading point, at the old Pudong dock, tonight. The room was silent, and Liu Wei's mind was racing. Grudges, poisons, chips, all logically connected. He is no longer the impulsive young police officer he used to be. Now he maturely weighs risks, protects informants, and advances investigations. Okay, he said, let's cooperate. But Tianyou, follow me and you provide the coordinates. The fog of the black market is beginning to lift. Tianyou nodded, with a hint of admiration in his eyes. Zhang Min stood up and put on her windbreaker. The light in the corridor outside the door lengthened her shadow. The three of them filed out. It was dark, and the wind from the pier was blowing faintly, mixed with sea salt and hidden dangers. Liu Wei clenched his phone and was determined, this time, he would use logic to end his father's old image. The night wind at Pudong Old Pier is mixed with the smell of sea salt and diesel, and the sound of waves lapping against the embankment is like a low drumbeat. Liu Wei drove the police car, and Tianyou, the co-driver, kept an eye on the GPS on his phone. Tianyou's fingertips slid across the screen, tracking the chip frequency data provided by Zhang Min. In the back seat, Zhang Min crossed her arms and looked at the dark river outside the window. Are you sitting in the standard seat? Liu Wei glanced at her from the rearview mirror. His voice was as steady as before, one wrong step and we are all in trouble. Zhang Min nodded and lowered his voice, accurate. The chip is the dedicated frequency band of the Lotus Society and was intercepted from the USB flash drive video. Zhiwei's meeting record shows that he will deliver the goods there tonight. The jade list in the National Museum marks the next target. The leader will show up, but don't act rashly. They have spies. Tianyou turned his head, blood flashing in his eyes, but his tone was much more restrained. Captain Liu, is the Lotus Club Miss Zhang mentioned, the old Shanghai gangster? The family feud sounds like a martial arts novel, but the photos are true. The Lichen family ran away with money, the Zhang family went bankrupt, and now it is the black market's turn to take revenge? He did not ask impulsively like before, but waited for Liu Wei to respond, with a hint of humility in his eyes. Liu Wei tightened his grip on the steering wheel, and his father's old case flashed through his mind, the art money laundering case of Lotus Club back then. His father had an accidental car accident halfway through the investigation. He shook his head, his voice as steady as a big brother. It's not a novel, it's a real bad debt. Zhiwei's alibi has been exposed by the USB flash drive video. He said he was drinking at home on the night of the crime, but surveillance showed him sneaking into the back door of the art museum. Xiaoqing's poison data has nailed his supply chain. Tonight, we will catch him. The car turned into a remote industrial road, and a group of abandoned warehouses beside the dock loomed in the mist. Zhang Min pointed to a low building ahead. There is the entrance to the underground auction. It is disguised as an old shipyard, and there is an informant from the Lotus Society inside. I will respond outside, and you two go in. Remember, the chip app can locate the package, but don't touch the trigger. Liu Wei stopped the car, turned off the lights, and applied the brakes. He turned to look at Tianyou. The plan is simple: sneak in, take evidence, and find the traces of the leader. Don't act like a hero and follow me. Your photo clues at the art museum saved the day last time. Listen to the instructions this time. Tianyou nodded and patted his chest. Understood, Captain Liu. I am passionate and will not hold you back. Miss Zhang, are you really not going in? What if something changes? She shook her head, with a pale look in her eyes. My identity is sensitive, and I will be exposed if I go in. Here are you. She handed over a small earphone. The frequency band is linked, and you can listen to my wind. But the matter of grudges. Before Li Chen died, he said that your family was reflected in the old photos of the Lotus Club. Officer Liu, your father's case was not an accident. Liu Wei's heart tightened and he pushed the car door open without answering. The night swallowed up their figures, and the two of them sneaked against the wall, their steps as light as a cat's steps. Two strong men were smoking at the door of the warehouse. Liu Wei signaled Tianyou to step back. He approached from the side, took advantage of one man's back, locked his throat with his elbow, and quietly brought him down. The other person turned around alertly, and Tianyou sprang out from the darkness. He stumbled with a sweeping kick, and Liu Wei quickly tied him up. Good job, Liu Wei whispered, go in. The underground passage was damp and cold, with dim lights and faint whispers and the sound of metal clashing. They pushed open the iron door and saw a secret auction hall in front of them, glass cabinets filled with antiques, buyers wearing masks sitting around, and the air was filled with the smell of cigars and old wood. Liu Wei lowered the brim of his hat, Tianyou followed closely, and the two of them blended into the edge of the crowd. On the stage, a middle-aged man wearing sunglasses, Zhiwei, was handing a package to the mysterious person in the audience. The list of this batch of jades has been implanted with chips, so there is no need to worry about tracking. Zhiwei's voice was low, but Liu Wei's headphones captured it clearly. The leader said that the National Museum will take action next week. That kid Li Chen did bad things, and the poison has been dealt with. Tianyou clenched his fist slightly and leaned close to Liu Wei's ear. Captain Liu, he admitted it. The alibi is completely broken. The video and this current situation are enough to sentence him to 10 years. Liu Wei nodded, his eyes locked on the mysterious man in the audience, a tall and thin figure, a silver-gray suit, with vague scars on his face, like what he had seen in old photos from the planning department of the art museum. That's the leader? The curator brother Zhang Min said. Take a photo. Tianyou took out his mobile phone and secretly recorded it, but there was a sudden commotion in the crowd. Zhang Min's voice came quickly from the earphones, be careful. The spy has spotted you, and I'm being followed. The words were cut off, and the sound of footsteps came from outside the passage. Zhiwei raised his head alertly, scanned the crowd, and locked eyes with Liu Wei. Wait, these two, policemen? Chaos breaks out. The buyers scattered, and the security guard rushed to the stage. Liu Wei pulled Tianyou back. Run. Side door. They rushed into the corridor, and Tianyou tripped a security guard. When he got up, Liu Wei had already opened the way, and the two of them rushed into the storage room. The pursuers outside the door were approaching, and Tianyou gasped, Captain Liu, the package was lost, but the video captured Zhiwei's face. I recognized the scarred face of the leader, the deputy director of the art museum, Chen or something. Liu Wei nodded, logic whirling in his mind. Zhiwei's lie collapsed, the poison, the meeting, the list, all connected. But with Zhang Min's intervention, why was the case interrupted? Antiques were scattered on the shelf in the storage room. He casually opened an old book, and inside it was a sharpened old photo. Unlike Tianyou's blurry photo, this was a photo of a gathering of the Lotus Club, an old alley in Shanghai, with a lotus symbol in the background. A group of people gathered around a table. Liu Wei's father's profile in his youth was prominently displayed. Next to him was Grandpa Zhang Min, and Grandpa of the Zhiwei family was smiling and handing out money. The handwriting on the back of the photo reads, "The cycle of grudges and grudges, the Liu family owes Lotus a debt." Liu Wei's fingers froze, and his heart surged. His father's old case was not an accident, but an internal fight in the Lotus Society. He impulsively investigated and almost destroyed the team. Now this photo proves that the family is involved in the art black market. The pain of growing up came to him. He took a deep breath and suppressed his emotions. God bless this, my family's old debt. But now, focus on escaping. The leader is Deputy Director Chen, and the society has greater control, not a single case, but the revival of the entire black market network. Tianyou looked at him and didn't ask. He patted his shoulder and said, Captain Liu, let's get rid of his grudges. Let's get over it together. Listen, it's quiet outside. They pushed the door open and the passage was empty. Zhang Min suddenly came out of the dark corner with a pale face and a torn windbreaker. Quickly leave. I'm causing chaos. But Zhiwei ran away, and the leader ordered the clearance. There is a trace of your father in Li Chen's diary, the money laundering of the Lotus Society, which led to internal strife. Before his death, your father left a clue to my grandfather. Now it is our turn to pay it back. Liu Wei's eyes were sharp. How do you know my dad? The intervention is too clever, Miss Zhang. Is it protection or delay? She shook her head and said in a quick voice, believe me. The bigger conspiracy is that the Lotus Society teamed up with technology companies to implant chips to not only track, but also hack into the museum security system. The next target is the entire Shanghai Art Week. Xiaoqing just sent the data dash. The phone vibrated, and a message from Lin Xiaoqing popped up. Captain Liu, new data, Zhiwei's poison supply is connected to Deputy Director Chen's import company. There is a hacker program hidden in the chip. It is not just tracking, but a remote control of the security door lock. If the evidence is sufficient, let's arrest him. But be careful, there is a mole in the society. Liu Wei clenched his fists and turned to Tianyou. Did you hear that? Tianyou, you are responsible for sealing the back door, and I will pressure you from the front. Zhang Min, follow us, but don't play any tricks. Tianyou nodded, and his enthusiasm turned to determination. Captain Liu, this time I listen to you. From the photos in the art museum to now, I have learned not to rush, but to take steps step by step. Let's go. The three of them rushed out of the warehouse, the night wind howled, and police sirens loomed in the distance. Zhiwei's car lights flashed and he tried to escape. Liu Wei jumped up to block the road. Tianyou pounced on him from the side. During the struggle, Zhiwei's package fell and the chip flashed to reveal its location. Deputy Director Chen's shadow flashed on the top of the warehouse in the distance and disappeared into the fog. The leader has escaped. Zhang Min shouted, but I have the list, the blueprints of the National Museum, all marked by hackers. Liu Wei suppressed Zhiwei and handcuffed him. The game is over. Your alibi and poison lies have all been exposed. I will dig up the old accounts of the Lotus Club. Zhiwei gasped, his eyes collapsed. You don't understand. Brother Chen's network is all over the art world. The Liu family did bad things back then, and now it's your turn. Tianyou helped Liu Wei up, with a hint of maturity in his eyes. Captain Liu, don't worry about the photo. Our team is here to dismantle this conspiracy. Liu Wei nodded, feeling conflicted in his heart, but the responsibility of leadership kept him steady. His father's shadow will eventually dissipate. He looked at the river, the police car was approaching, Zhang Min's windbreaker was flapping in the wind, the crisis was not over, and the control of a larger society was like an undercurrent. The sound of police sirens tore through the fog in the Pudong night sky. Liu Wei escorted Zhiwei into the police car. The cuffs bit into the guy's wrist, making a crisp clicking sound. Zhang Min followed Tianyou, the rips in her windbreaker dangled under the street lights. She clutched the list she took out of the package, and the edges of the paper were soaked by the river wind. Liu Wei glanced at her and said in a low voice, Miss Zhang, don't rush to explain. I'll see you in the bureau. Xiaoqing's data is still waiting for us to compare. Zhiwei was breathing heavily in the back seat, with a hint of sarcasm on his lips. Officer Liu, your dad ruined the Lotus Club's bureau back then, and now you come to join in the fun? Brother Chen's network is not something your team can dismantle. Tianyou stepped on the accelerator and the car sped into the main road. He glared at Zhiwei from the rearview mirror. Shut up. Your poison and list are all recorded on video. The greed in the art world cannot be hidden. Liu Wei did not answer, holding the old photo in his hand, the party photo of the Lotus Society. His father's profile was blurred but familiar in the candlelight. The logic in his mind was like a thread. Li Chen's death was not a simple accident. The handwriting on the back of the photo hinted that the Lotus Club's money laundering case back then, and his father ruined their situation, leading to internal strife. Now, Li Chen dug out a chip loophole and ruined Deputy Director Chen's revival plan, so he was poisoned and silenced. These layers of grievances are like fake paintings in the art world. They are shiny on the surface but full of mud underneath. It was already 2 o'clock in the morning when the lights of the police station were brightly lit. Liu Wei pushed open the door of the interrogation room. Lin Xiaoqing was already inside, and the chip fragments under the microscope shone coldly. She raised her head, her voice professional but tired. Liu Captain, the chip in Zhiwei's package not only tracks the goods, but also has a hacking program embedded in it. It also contains the museum's security system and remote control of door locks. Where is the traditional evidence? Xiaoqing pointed to the USB flash drive on the table. The video matches Zhiwei's alibi. He sneaked into the art museum on the night of the crime and supplied Li Chen with poisoned lotus toxin, which came from Deputy Director Chen's import company. Technology surveillance caught his license plate from the dock last night. Liu Wei nodded and spread out the old photos on the table. Xiaoqing, this is an old document from Lotus Club. My father was there, as were the Zhang family and the Zhiwei family. The handwriting says, the cycle of grudges and grudges, the Liu family owes a debt. Li Chen's diary mentioned that he saw similar photos before his death and tried to reconcile the internal fighting in the society, but was silenced. In this connection, Deputy Director Chen is not the middleman, he is the leader, who has been lurking in the art circle for a long time and reviving the black market network. Greed is layered on top of each other, from money laundering to security hacking, all for the sake of causing havoc at Shanghai Art Week. Tianyou came closer and scanned the photo with his passionate eyes. Captain Liu, this scar-faced Deputy Director Chen, I recognized him from the old booth of the art museum. Back then, the planning department was organizing exhibitions on the surface, but collecting stolen goods underneath. But how to prove that he controls everything? Ms. Zhang's list had a blueprint, but he ran away. Zhang Min stood by the door, her hands folded, her elegant face pale under the lamp. She took a deep breath and finally said, I'll confess part of it. Personal motives. Li Chen is an old acquaintance of mine, and we originally wanted to work together to dig up the roots of the Lotus Society. After he died, I was afraid it would be my turn. Grandpa owed money to the society back then, and the Zhang family went bankrupt because of Deputy Director Chen's handiwork. I provide clues, not for money, but for revenge. But I have a dual identity, a curator and an intelligence broker. Believe me, I will be an ally in this cooperation, but it is unstable. The society's informants are still there. Liu Wei stared at her with sharp eyes. Ally? The doc is disconnected. It's true that you are causing chaos, but how can you guarantee that it's not delaying? The clue about your father, left by your grandfather? Zhang Min nodded, his voice as low as a whisper, yes. Before your father died, he gave my grandfather a letter and hid it on the back of an old photo. It is said that the ghosts in Lotus Club are the Chen brothers, who control money laundering. There are coordinates in the letter, a secret warehouse in an old alley in Shanghai, where the black market ledger is hidden. I originally wanted to keep it all to myself and prove the Zhang family's innocence, but after Li Chen's misdeeds, I became afraid. Officer Liu, let's work together to dismantle Chen's network. Tianyou's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he couldn't help but slap the table. Great! Miss Zhang, give me the coordinates and we'll take action immediately. Team Liu, this is a breakthrough, the identity of the leader is locked, and all the conspiracy in the art world is revealed. But he was so excited that he grabbed his phone and adjusted the GPS. He didn't notice that the list on the table slipped and fell into the evidence bag next to the microscope. Liu Wei frowned. God bless, calm down. Don't be impulsive, integrate the evidence first. Xiaoqing pulled up the surveillance screen and chased Chen's escape route. Lin Xiaoqing clicked on the screen, and the screen jumped out of a silver-gray suit flashing in the fog at the dock. Technology has been a big help, and the license plate was traced to Chen's company. But traditional evidence is indispensable. Zhiwei's confession, just let go, saying that Chen used false evidence to trap Li Chen's assistants and create an internal purge. Liu Wei's heart sank, an internal pressure surged. His father's old case, which he impulsively investigated back then, almost destroyed the team. Now, this photo has hit a sore spot. Family debt? Or sacrifice due to internal fighting? An inner monologue flashed through. I can't make any more mistakes. I have to be steady. Growth is not about passion, but calculation at every step. Just as he was talking, Tianyou suddenly shouted, Oops! The list is gone, it just slipped off. He rummaged through the boxes and turned pale. Captain Liu, I was impulsive and didn't clip it properly. All the blueprint marks were lost, and now Chen's Art Week plan couldn't be kept up. Zhang Min's eyes flashed. He approached the evidence bag and fished out the wet paper. Fortunately, I have a sharp eye. Not lost, but the edges are a little blurry. On the blueprint, the hacker point is connected to the old alley warehouse, the coordinates of your father's letter. Tianyou breathed a sigh of relief, but unexpectedly found an extra card at the bottom of the bag. Wait, what is this? Chip fell out of the SIM card? Black market communication records. He plugged it into the reader, and an encrypted message popped up on the screen, a voice clip from Deputy Director Chen. The Lotus is reviving, the Art Week is robbing the Jade, the Liu family kid is approaching, setting a trap, false evidence points to Zhang Min, luring him in. Liu Wei clenched his fists, here comes the original twist. Chen not only escaped, he set up a trap with false evidence to frame Zhang Min and cut off our escape route. This record, accidentally captured, proves that he controls the mole. Technological surveillance meets traditional confessions, and the identity of the leader breaks through. He is not just a collector, but the boss of a society. His greed devours the entire art circle. From old grudges to hacker networks, everything is his game. Zhang Min's face turned pale. He wants to frame me? If his personal motives are exposed, I will be finished. But I will support this alliance. Officer Liu, go to the old alley, dig up the general ledger, and prove everything. Liu Wei nodded, and his inner conflict turned into determination. Past doubts made him more stable, and leading the team to dismantle the conspiracy is not a one-man charge. He turned to Tianyou, learned. I lost the clues impulsively, but got back the big fish. The next step is to block Chen's company and monitor the old alley. Xiaoqing, check the poison data again and find the mole. Tianyou nodded, his eyes firmer than passionate. Captain Liu, I was wrong, but this communication record is worth the price of admission. The layers of greed in the art world are like paintings in the fog, slowly being revealed. Lin Xiaoqing packed up her tools and said with a smile, you too, your partnership is becoming more and more tacit. If you dig out the general ledger, most of the case will be solved. Liu Wei looked out the window at the dawn of dawn on the river, and the old photos were hot in his hands. The shadow of his father is finally disappearing, but the crisis is like an undercurrent, and Chen's trap is opening its net. The coordinates of the old alley gleam with unknown temptations, and their steps must be done step by step. Liu Wei pushed open the glass door of the police station, and the morning light spilled into the corridor, bringing with it the moist smell of the river. The coordinates of the old alley flashed on the phone, like an old copper coin, faintly hot. He turned to Tianyou and said, let's go, don't wait until it gets dark. Chen's trap has been set up, and we have to attack first. Tianyou nodded, his eyes no longer filled with pure passion, but more stable. Captain Liu, I'll drive. Xiaoqing's data has just been sent, and the poison supply chain has connected 3 old cases, all pointing to the import company of Lotus Society. Chen, that old fox, is hiding deep. The car drove into the old city. The alleys were as narrow as the memories of old Shanghai. Behind the Shikumen were layers of red brick walls. Liu Wei got out of the car, the handcuffs still dangling in his hands. He glanced at Zhiwei in the back seat. The guy lowered his head and gasped, sweat beads rolling down his forehead. Officer Liu, Zhiwei said suddenly, his voice as hoarse as a worn canvas, your father ruined our situation back then, I admit it. But Chen, he is not as simple as a leader. He controls everything, starting from my father's generation. Zhang Min, do you think she is an ally? She is an undercover agent, an insider of the Lotus Club, who is planning on the surface and selling information to Chen on the inside. Tianyou slammed on the brakes, and the front of the car almost hit the corner of the wall. He turned around and glared at Zhiwei, stop talking nonsense. Just spit it out when you let go. How can you prove Zhang Min's dual identity? Are the coordinates she gave him a trap? Liu Wei raised his hand to stop him and said in a steady voice, God bless, don't worry. We'll interrogate him first and come step by step. They took Zhiwei into an old warehouse deep in the alley. The door lock was rusty and dust hit his face when he pushed it open. It was empty, with only a broken table and a few iron cabinets, and the air was filled with the smell of musty and old ink. Liu Wei pushed Zhiwei on the chair and spread out the old photos on the table. Tell me, is the handwriting on the back of this photo written by your father? The Liu family owes a sum. The cycle of grudges, from money laundering to the current art crisis, is all Chen's chess. You confessed to Zhang Min, why is she undercover? Zhiwei swallowed, his eyes dodged in the shadow of the light. Her father, she was dragged in by Chen after the Zhang family went bankrupt. She was a curator on the surface, and sold clues to us and to you. It was not an accident that she broke the news that night. It was a personal motive. It was a lie to save her life. She was afraid of being implicated when he dug out the chip loopholes. Tianyou clenched his fists and approached Zhiwei. You bastard. In the video, you supplied the poison, and now you want to frame Zhang Min? Xiaoqing's report said that your package chip was involved in multiple thefts. The jades lost at the antique show last year were all made by Lotus Society. Chen's import company has piles of false evidence. You are the middleman, so don't pretend to be innocent. Zhiwei smiled bitterly and slumped his shoulders. I admit that I gave him the poison. But Zhang Min's dual role is even more filthy. Chen used her to monitor the art museum, and she helped implant the hacker program. Those are old photos of the club. After your father's defeat, one of the Chen brothers died and the other went into hiding to control the black market. The grudge involved the leader, and the scarred face was fake. He had plastic surgery. Liu Wei's heart sank, and his inner monologue was like lightning. His father's shadow was coming up again. Don't panic, this is a test of growth. Stabilize the team and expose the lies. He took a deep breath and stared at Zhiwei. Where's the evidence? In the communication record, Chen's voice mentioned set a trap to point to Zhang Min. How much do you know? Zhiwei lowered his head. She will go to the art storage warehouse tonight to get the ledger. The coordinates are real, but she will have an informant. Chen's plan is bigger. It is not a single robbery of paintings, but a black market auction of jade during Art Week, selling to overseas societies, and money laundering. This is what your father broke back then. As he was talking, his phone vibrated and Lin Xiaoqing's video popped up. She was in the bureau, with a microscope and a data screen in the background, and her voice was clear. Captain Liu, the anomaly report has come out. Zhiwei's chip not only hacked security, but also connected 5 old cases: the theft of porcelain 2 years ago, the loss of calligraphy and paintings 3 years ago, all done by ghosts in the Lotus Society. The poison supply was imported from Chen's company, under the pseudonym Lotus Toxin, specifically to silence people. I compared the handwriting of the old photos, and it was confirmed by the family secrets. After your father broke up, the Chen family had an infighting, and the leader, Deputy Director Chen, killed the brothers and monopolized the black market. Data showed that her mobile phone signal was connected to Chen's encrypted line. The suspicion of betrayal became serious. Tianyou turned pale when he heard this, and turned to Liu Wei. Team Liu, this Zhang Min is an undercover agent? We joined forces, but she betrayed us? Liu Wei shook his head, with insight like a knife. Not necessarily. The private motives are confusing. She may have been forced. Zhiwei, you said she went to the storage warehouse. That is the back warehouse of the art museum, and there are marks on the blueprint. Let's sneak in and catch the action. Determination surged in his heart. The trauma of the past, like the edges of old photos, is blurry but cannot be ignored. This time, I was not impulsive and led the team to resolve the crisis, and my father's grudges were resolved here. They sealed Zhiwei and left 2 brothers to guard him. Liu Wei and Tianyou set off in the dark. The art storage is located underground at the Pudong Art Museum. The night is dark and the surveillance lights are flashing. Zhang Min's figure in a trench coat swayed in front, and she called in a low voice, Chen, I got it. No, Officer Liu is still chasing, but I changed the coordinates, and they took the bait. Tianyou was so angry that he wanted to rush, but Tianyou stopped him. Wait, listen to Liu team. You have to be reliable. Liu Wei nodded, his voice as low as a whisper. God bless you, go back and cut off the power, I will talk to you. Her doubleness may be acting. There is a loophole in the data, and the signal may be Chenji's false line. When they sneaked in, the iron door of the storage warehouse was ajar, the lights inside were dim, the shelves were filled with famous paintings and antiques, and the air was filled with the smell of dust and oil paint. Zhang Min turned around and saw Liu Wei. His face turned pale. Why are you following? Did Zhiwei let go? Liu Wei stepped forward and held up the old photo. He said you were an undercover agent and sold information to Chen. Lin Xiaoqing's report connected all the cases. Family secrets, your grandfather's debt, all were caused by Chen's bureau. You betrayed me, let's join forces. Zhang Min backed away, bumping into the shelf, and said, "It's not betrayal. I gave you my father's letter to prove it. But he set up a trap, and I had to act to save my life. But my personal motivation has not changed." Tianyou came around from behind and cut off the main power supply. The lights went out, leaving only the light of the mobile phone. His voice was firm, "Ms. Zhang, prove it. On the blueprint, where is the general ledger of this storage warehouse in the old alley? Chen's Art Week plan and the Jade hijacking were blocked by us." Zhang Min gasped and took out a stack of documents from the inner pocket of his windbreaker. "Here. According to the general ledger, after your father's bad luck, Chen revived the old grievances. He used technological surveillance and traditional traps to control the society. The rumors of betrayal were spread by him. Zhiwei was the pawn, but I was the insider, but it was for you." Liu Wei took the document and opened it. The pages were filled with numbers and maps, a list of Jade items from Art Week, hackers connecting overseas buyers, and greed spreading like the internet. He had a flash of insight. Here's the turning point. Chen's trap is not to trap you, but to lure us here. There are explosives in the storage warehouse, remote control. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door, and Chen's men broke in, their guns black. Tianyou pounced on him, fought at close range, and kicked one of them away. "Liu Captain, cover. Pass the document to Xiaoqing first." Liu Wei pulled Zhang Min out of the way, determination burning in his heart. The shadow of trauma turned into strength. This is not a one-man battle, it is a team tearing down the net. During the melee, Tianyou's enthusiasm turned to reliability. He grabbed the iron bar on the shelf, broke a guy's gun, and shouted, "Miss Zhang, the exit is on the left. Team Liu, I'll hold the back." Zhang Min nodded, his elegant face covered with sweat. "Thank you. I miscalculated the risk. Chen's plan is all here, money laundering after the Jade robbery. Going overseas, the society is reviving." Liu Wei fired, and the bullet passed by his ear, and he growled, "Xiaoqing, receive the abnormal data, the leader is locked." On the other end of the phone, Lin Xiaoqing said urgently, "Multiple cases are all connected, the family secrets are solved, Brother Chen is in charge of the black market, and the bureau is here." They rushed out of the storage warehouse, the night wind blew in their faces, and the sirens sounded faintly. Liu Wei gasped and looked at Tianyou patting his shoulder. "Boy, you have grown. It's not passion, but support." Tianyou grinned. "Liu Captain, I'll follow your example. Chen's network has been exposed." Zhang Min followed, with a trembling voice. "The crisis has been resolved, but he is still on the run. The conspiracy in the art world is like the fog in an old alley, which never clears." Liu Wei held the document tightly and kept the old photos warm in his pocket. The father's grudge has finally come to light, but a bigger undercurrent is coming from the edge of the Art Week. Their pace quickened their pace. The sirens are getting closer and closer, like wolves howling at night, tearing through the fog in Pudong. Liu Wei pulled Zhang Min and Tianyou into the alley, and the footsteps behind them were in a mess. Chen's men were still chasing, but the supporting police car had blocked the exit. Liu Wei gasped and patted Tianyou on the shoulder. "Go back to the bureau first, pass the file to Xiaoqing, and ask her to encrypt the backup. Miss Zhang, you come with us, you can't do it alone this time." Zhang Min nodded, her windbreaker was covered with dust. She whispered, "Okay, but Chen has many informants, and my mobile phone may have been monitored. His overseas contacts are in the general ledger, and Art Week opens tomorrow, and he will not give up." They squeezed into the police car. Tianyou held the steering wheel tightly and glanced at the rearview mirror. "Team Liu, those guys have retreated, but Zhiwei is still in the warehouse. I have to go back and confirm that he has let go so much, maybe he has a backup plan." Liu Wei hummed, and the clues in his mind were spinning like a puzzle. His father's old case, Chen's family infighting, chip loopholes, general ledger numbers, everything pointed to the deep waters of the art world. The black market was not new, but old-fashioned. As the car drove towards the police station, his inner monologue flashed through, "We can't let suspicion destroy the team. This is my responsibility. I need to stabilize everyone and take apart the last layer." The bureau was brightly lit, and Lin Xiaoqing was already waiting in the conference room. A projector was spread out on the table, and a red warning line flashed on the data screen. She saw them coming in and pushed up her glasses. "Liu Captain, the documents have been received. The general ledger is compared with Xiaoqing's poison records. Chen's company not only imports poisons, but also supplies hacker chips for black market auctions. The list of jade items for Art Week is all from Lotus Society. The goal has been to revive this money laundering line since the year when your father was in trouble." Tianyou leaned over and tapped on the screen. "Xiaoqing, why didn't the warehouse's surveillance catch Chen's men? The system was still running when we lost power." Lin Xiaoqing clicked on a flowchart, her voice professional but tired. "God bless you, you checked it right. There is a backdoor in technological surveillance. The chip not only hacks security, but also implants false signals. Chen used an old server to bypass the cloud, like the old system of an art museum. It was upgraded on the surface in his private network underneath. The chip in Zhiwei's package is the key. The key was the theft of paintings and calligraphy 3 years ago, and the victims were all silenced by poison. The family feud was solved. The handwriting on the old photos was not that of the Chen brothers, but that of their father. Uncle Liu, the patriarch of the art world, broke their smuggling bureau and killed his brothers. He kept a low profile and used his son as a cover." Liu Wei listened and tightened his fists slightly. He took out the old photos from his pocket and spread them out on the table. In the family photo with yellowed edges, Chen's father, the veteran of the art world, had eyes as sharp as knives. "Xiaoqing, enlarge this picture. The Liu family owes a sum on the back is not written casually. It is old man Chen's handwriting, right? The internal fighting Zhiwei mentioned is a cover. The truth is that the elders control everything, starting from the establishment of the Lotus Society." Lin Xiaoqing nodded and voted. The camera switched to handwriting comparison. "Yes, 99% consistent. A veteran of the art world, he is retired on the surface, but secretly the leader of the black market. Deputy Director Chen is just the front desk, and the jade robbery is the last step of the revival plan. He sells it to overseas societies to clear the family's old debts." Zhang Min leaned back in her chair, her face pale. She took out an old USB flash drive from her bag and handed it to Liu Wei. "This is the final evidence. I took it from the secret drawer of the storage room. It is old man Chen's private diary, recording files, and transaction list. It contains the details of your father's bad situation. When Lotus Club smuggled antiques, he was responsible for everything, and the Chen family went bankrupt. My grandfather's debt was owed at that time. But the risk of exposure is high. The diary mentioned that I was his insider and acted to save my life. If I betray him, he will clear my whole family." Her voice trembled, and her elegant face became more fragile. "Officer Liu, I am not asking for protection, but for revenge. After Li Chen died, I woke up. The poison chip hidden under the jade was all the fault of the elders." Tianyou's eyes widened. He grabbed the USB flash drive and inserted it into the computer. "Miss Zhang, this, you told me earlier. We almost fell into a trap." He tapped the keyboard, and the recording file popped up. Old Chen's voice was as hoarse as an old radio. "Minner, that kid from the Liu family is catching up. Set a trap for Zhiwei and let him plant you. Family feud, forget it. After the art week, the black market is reborn, and I, the veteran, can survive for another 10 years." Tianyou turned around, his blood boiling, but he was still angry. "Captain Liu, the evidence is solid. But there are suspicions within the bureau that we have joined forces with Zhang Min, saying that her double identity is a mole." Liu Wei stood up straight, scanned the crowd, and his voice was as steady as a rock. "The suspicion is Chen's smoke bomb. We are not falling for it. God bless, you continue to check for surveillance loopholes. Xiaoqing, compare the USB flash drive and the general ledger, and locate the elder's hiding place. Miss Zhang, I bear your risk. The evidence is on the table. No one touches you." Warmth surged in his heart. "Past trauma, like this old photo, the edges are blurred, but now, I am the leader, no longer the young man who bears the shadow of his father. The team needs me to be steady." He took a deep breath and patted Tianyou on the back. Boy, don't be impulsive. Your investigation saved us just now. This time you take the lead in digging loopholes and we will dismantle the net together. Just as he was talking, there was a commotion outside the door, and a brother rushed in, panting, Team Liu, it's not good. Zhiwei escaped. The warehouse guard was knocked unconscious, and the back door was pried open. He left a note, Old Man Chen's game, you fell into the trap. The family secrets are all in the veteran gallery of the Art Week. The conference room fell silent for an instant. God bless fiercely. He slapped the table, damn it. Is he lying about letting go, delaying time? Liu Wei shook his head, his insight was like lightning. No, it's a turning point. Zhiwei is not the mastermind, he was afraid, and gave us clues in exchange for his life. The Elder Gallery, that is the old wing of the art museum, Old Man Chen's private collection room after his retirement. The background in the old photos is there. Zhang Min stood up with a firm look in his eyes. I have been there. There is a secret room under the gallery, and even a dark web server for black market auctions. The risk is mine, but the evidence is all in the USB flash drive. I will accompany you. Lin Xiaoqing typed on the keyboard, the monitoring vulnerability has been confirmed. God bless, your photo records match the server using old-fashioned fiber optics. Old Man Chen's trick is to mix technology with tradition to bypass all police networks. Tianyou nodded, his voice no longer pure and passionate, but more reliable. Liu Captain, I'll go around and cut off the server. Are you going to talk to the elders about it? Let them see the evidence and we can prove our innocence. Liu Wei integrated the clues and the puzzle was complete in his mind. After his father's bad luck, the elders of the Chen family killed his brothers and took control. The Zhang family went bankrupt and was used as a handle. Li Chen dug loopholes and was eliminated. Zhiwei's middleman let go and framed him, and the general ledger U-Disk unlocked everything. The Jade robbery of Art Week is the final climax, in the context of the black market revival, from family feuds and old photos to loopholes and technological surveillance, all converge in the Elder Gallery. He said to everyone, let's take action. I will block the internal suspicion. As the team works together, Old Man Chen's fog has cleared. The inner monologue is like fire, growth is not about avoiding trauma, but moving forward with it. This time, I will lead everyone to resolve the grudges. They set off separately. Tianyou drove straight to the back alley of the gallery and said as he drove, Liu Captain, remember that night in the storage warehouse? You taught me to be steady. I understand now. It's not one person who is a hero, but each other. Liu Wei smiled, yes, boy. You have grown up. Zhang Min was in the back seat, adding in a low voice, the veteran's diary, and hi, the list of foreign buyers will go crazy after being exposed, but we have evidence. Lin Xiaoqing's phone rang, Captain Liu, the USB drive has been decrypted. All the family secrets are revealed. The list of antiques that Old Man Chen brought was the root of the Lotus Society, but the clues are all connected. Outside the gallery, the night was as thick as ink, and the old porch was covered with vines, like hidden veins. Liu Wei pushed the door open, the lights inside were dim, the walls were covered with famous paintings, and the air smelled of old paint and dust. The veteran's voice came from the stairs, old but gloomy, Officer Liu, come quickly. That boy Zhiwei did something bad for me, but it's time to settle the grudge between your father and your father. Liu Wei stepped forward with a gun in his hand, but Tianyou came around from behind and cut off the power supply. There was a random sound of footsteps in the darkness. Zhang Min whispered, the secret room is behind the painting, and the server is there. There was a sudden turn, and Zhiwei's shadow flashed out of the side door. He gasped, Captain Liu, I didn't tell you everything. The elder forced me to escape to buy him time. But the truth about the old photos is that my father is the victim and Old Man Chen is the murderer. In the chaos, gunfire rang out. Tianyou threw down one of his men and shouted, Captain Liu, the loophole is closed. The surveillance screen is black. Liu Wei pulled Zhang Min out of the way and burst out with inner determination, the cycle of grudges will stop in my generation. Team trust, like light, pierces the darkness. He opened fire to suppress and shouted, "Senior, come down. All the evidence is in hand, the black market network has collapsed." The steps on the stairs were heavy, and the outline of Old Man Chen emerged. The scar on his face was gone, but the elder's eyes were shining with greed. The undercurrent of the art week is hitting their rhythm. The mystery is deepening, but it is about to be revealed. The sound of gunfire echoed under the dim light of the gallery, like firecrackers exploding the silence of the night. Liu Wei suddenly grabbed Zhang Min, and the two rolled into the shadow behind a giant oil painting. The bullets grazed the wall and gravel flew. Tianyou's shout came from behind, "Captain Liu, I cut off the power. These guys are blind." Zhiwei's shadow was wandering at the side door. He gasped and rushed over, bumping into Liu Wei's arm. "Officer Liu, I'm not lying to you. Old Man Chen is not hiding here." He slipped away and went to the secret club, the VIP backstage of the art week. There is an underground auction hall, which is the home of the black market. It was there that my father was forced to death by him. The words on the back of the old photo are not a threat, but a letter for help. Liu Wei's mind was racing, and he grabbed Zhiwei's collar. "Tell me the address of the club now. Your alibi is false, but if this clue is true, you can still be saved." Zhiwei hesitated. The old dock warehouse on the Bund of Pudong is a private club on the surface, and is connected to the secret passage of the Lotus Club underneath. You have a USB flash drive for Old Man Chen's diary. He is having a meeting there tonight, and all overseas buyers are here. Zhang Min poked his head out of the shadows, his voice low but firm. "Zhiwei is right, I have been to that club. Old Man Chen used it as a fortress, and fake auctions of art to cover up the poison trade. My dual identity is not a mole, it was forced by him, but now, I am my ally, Officer Liu. I gave him all the evidence, and revenge depends on this." She took out a small key from the inner pocket of her windbreaker and handed it to Liu Wei. "This is the backup for the back door of the club, and the server password is also on the USB drive. We work together to dismantle his network." Tianyou rushed in from the back alley, carrying a dizzy henchman on his shoulders. There was a trace of blood on his face, but his eyes were steady and he was no longer the impulsive novice. "Liu Captain, the gallery's surveillance is all black. Lin Shaoqing just sent a message that the USB flash drive has been decrypted. Those lies have been exposed. Old Man Chen's handwriting not only matches the old photos, but also Zhiwei's package chip records. What he supplied the hacker program was not about art theft, but about planting false evidence. It was the poison that killed Li Chen." The family secrets were also discovered. The background of the old photo was not just random, it was a photo of the warehouse where Old Man Chen used to smuggle antiques. What your father broke was not just a small matter, it was the foundation of the Lotus Society. He killed his brother and took over the power, and his revenge started from there. Liu Wei nodded. The old scar in his heart was like fog blown away by the wind. His father's shadow was no longer a burden, but a torch for moving forward. He patted Tianyou on the shoulder. "Boy, you saved us when you cut off the power supply. You used to always rush in, but now you have learned to withstand it. The team is not one person, but each other's position." Tianyou grinned and wiped away the blood. "Liu Captain, you taught me. Remember that night in the storage warehouse? I thought heroes had to work alone, but now I understand that stabilizing the overall situation is the real skill. Let's go, there will be no shortage of counterattacks from Old Man Chen at the club." They dragged Zhiwei out of the back door of the gallery, and the night wind carried the fishy smell of the Huangpu River on their faces. The siren sounded faintly, but Liu Wei waved his hand to Tianyou to take a detour. "Don't wait for support, block the club first. Xiaoqing's data is irrefutable. Old Man Chen's overseas contacts are all locked up. The chip hidden under the Art Week jade is not a stolen prop, but a money laundering bomb. The final secret of the old photo, the line 'The Liu family owes a sum,' is Old Chen. He lost half of his country when your father was in charge, and now he is reviving the black market to drag us into trouble." Zhiwei gasped in the back seat. "Yes, he forced me to act, and let Zhang Min go, just to delay time. The auction in the club tonight is the final blow. The buyer is a Southeast Asian society. Once the money comes, the black market will be reborn. The car was speeding on the neon-lit Pudong Avenue. Tianyou's hand on the steering wheel was as steady as an experienced hand. He drove and contacted Lin Xiaoqing through the intercom. "Xiaoqing, the coordinates of the club have been sent. Where's the transaction list on the USB flash drive? Are old man Chen's lies all confirmed?" On the other end of the phone, Lin Xiaoqing's voice was crisp but tired. "Tianyou, confirmed. The general ledger does not match his overseas transfers. They are all fake numbers. Handwriting comparison shows, he forged evidence of the brothers' infighting. There was invisible ink in the corner of the old photo, and it was the Lotus Club's badge when enlarged. When your father was in trouble, he personally poisoned his brother and monopolized the black market. Zhiwei's alibi was also a fake signal implanted by the chip, and the monitoring loopholes were all caused by his old server. Now, I have encrypted the backup and sent it to the Deputy Bureau. The internal suspicion has been eliminated, and you can focus on catching the leader." Zhang Min came closer and said to the intercom, "Xiaoqing, thank you. Your data saved my grandfather's debt from being exposed. All the clues about old man Chen are in his diary. My dual identity will be innocent from now on." Lin Xiaoqing chuckled, "Miss Zhang, I will take care of the professional matters and leave the rest to Team Liu. The secret of the old photos has solved the cycle of grudges. It is not the Liu family who owes the debt, but the Chen family who owes life. The club is hidden behind a group of warehouses at the old wharf. On the surface, it looks like a private club with a feasting scene. There are many luxury cars parked at the entrance, and the air is filled with the smell of cigars and old wine. Liu Wei and the others sneaked in from the back alley, and Zhiwei pointed the way. The secret passage is under the container. Underneath the club is the auction hall, and old man Chen is there. But as soon as they climbed over the barbed wire fence, the black market's counterattack came. 2 black SUVs sprang out from the darkness. Their headlights were like wolf eyes, and their guns spitting fire. Bullets swept across the container, and Liu Wei shouted, "Disperse! God bless, cut off their car, God bless, you take the lead." Tianyou nodded, no longer hesitating, rolled to an SUV, smashed the window, and pulled out the driver. "Liu Captain, the accelerator is broken. They can't catch up." He moved skillfully, as if he had changed into a different person. The passion in the past has now become a calm blade. Zhang Min pulled Liu Wei into the entrance of the secret passage and walked quickly. "Old Chen has many men. There are more than a dozen in the club. The overseas buyers also bring bodyguards. The password of the USB flash drive can hack their dark web server, but you have to get close." Liu Wei gasped, and his father's old case flashed through his mind. He was a boy back then, watching his father shoulder everything, and now it was his turn. An inner flash: trauma is not a lock, but a key, opening the door to the truth. He whispered, "Miss Zhang, you are not a pawn, you are a partner. This grudge will be brought to an end in our generation." She nodded, with tears in her eyes. "Officer Liu, thank you. After revenge, I will return to the art museum and curate the exhibition cleanly." The chase unfolded at the dock, with the SUV's engine roaring and bullets rattling on the containers. Tianyou drove a stolen motorcycle, bypassed it from the flank, and kicked over a pursuer. "Captain Liu, the back door of the club is open. Zhiwei, don't hold back, go in and show the way." Zhiwei followed, his voice trembling but sincere. "I'm afraid of death, but more importantly afraid of old man Chen's ghost. The truth about the old photo: my dad was a witness and hid the photo before he was silenced, which proves that the elder murdered someone." They rushed into the secret passage. The humid air hit their faces, the lights flickered, and the old symbols of the Lotus Society were carved on the wall. There was a faint noise in the underground auction hall, and old man Chen's voice echoed like a ghost. "Buyers, as soon as the jade comes out, the black market will revive. If the Liu family catches up, let him see the deep waters of the family." Liu Wei stopped and integrated the clues. Lin Xiaoqing's data, USB diary, and the secrets of old photos all point to this moment. The team's tacit understanding is like a river, gathering together to become a force. He said to Tianyou, "Boy, you disconnect the server, Zhang Min and I are facing each other. Xiaoqing's evidence is on the table, and the deputy bureau is on the way. Tianyou clenched his fists. Liu Captain, support each other. This time, I won't be impulsive. I learned from you to be steady. They pushed open the iron door. The hall was brightly lit. Jade items were displayed like an altar. Old Man Chen stood on a high platform. His scarred face was distorted under the lamp. Overseas buyers were whispering. The conflict was about to break out, and a counterattack came from behind. Liu Wei drew his gun and shouted, "Old Man Chen, the game is over. Your lies and grudges have been exposed." But at this moment, a buyer's bodyguard pounced on him. A melee broke out. Zhang Min's key flashed. The server room door was ajar, and there was a twist hidden in the darkness, waiting for them to break in. The melee was like a river bursting its banks, and the underground auction hall instantly became a mess. The bodyguard's fist hit Liu Wei's shoulder. He dodged sideways, kicked the guy over, and pointed his gun directly at Old Man Chen on the high platform. Overseas buyers screamed and scattered. The antique bottles on the jade table shattered, and the fragments rained down. Tianyou rushed from the side, grabbed the other bodyguard's arm, and locked it. "Captain Liu, these bastards are leading the way. Zhiwei, show the way, don't be stunned." Zhiwei's face turned pale and he huddled in the corner, but he still nodded, his voice shaking like the waves on the pier. "Over there, the secret door behind the jade in the server room is the control center of Old Man Chen." The key in Zhang Min's hand shone with cold light. She lowered her body and ran through the chaos, her skirt sweeping over the broken porcelain on the ground. "Officer Liu, there is a trap in the server, an infrared network, which triggers poisonous gas when it touches it. The diary on the USB flash drive mentioned it. Let me solve it." As she spoke, she inserted it into the keyhole, her movements as neat as adjusting the lighting during an exhibition. Liu Wei stood in front of her and opened fire to suppress the two rushing black market thugs. The bullets grazed Old Man Chen's podium and sawdust flew into the air. Old Man Chen's scarred and distorted face looked eerie under the lamp. He grabbed the microphone and his voice sounded like a ghostly joke from old Shanghai. "Boy from the Liu family, was your father so crazy when he ruined our police station? The black market is not a toy of your police station. The buyers here all have influence in Southeast Asia. Touching me is like poking a hornet's nest." Liu Wei gasped, and the corner of the old photo flashed in his mind, the lotus badge with invisible ink, connecting his father's old case with this underground fortress. My heart tightened. This is not revenge, but a relay of justice. He shouted, "Old Man Chen, your blood debt list has been exposed. The old photos are not threats, they are evidence that you killed your brother. Li Chen's death and Zhiwei's false certificate were all your fault. The game is really over." Tianyou dragged Zhiwei to the server door at this time. Zhiwei suddenly knelt down with weak legs. "Officer Liu, I have taken all the moves. Old Man Chen's head position, it's not this hall, it's the observation deck on the top floor of the club, where there is a helipad, and he is planning to run away. The overseas buyer is a cover, the real thing is in the safe on the top floor, and the original version of the old photo is also there. It is all ironclad evidence of the family secret." Before he was silenced, "My father hid the photo, which proves that he personally poisoned the elders of the Lotus Society when he was smuggling antiques and monopolizing the black market." As soon as he finished speaking, the footsteps at the back door came like a tide, and the black market men came back from the secret passage, with gunfire intertwined. Liu Wei shouted over the intercom, "God bless, cut off their power supply. Xiaoqing, provide real-time support, lock the top floor." On the other end of the phone, Lin Xiaoqing's voice was urgent but steady. "Team Liu, received. The U-disk has been decrypted." After the invisible ink of the old photo was enlarged, it was Old Man Chen's handwriting. "The Liu family owes a debt is not a debt, it was planted by him. He stole half of his father's fortune, and his revenge is to drag the Liu family into trouble. Now, I hacked into the surveillance network of the club. There is a thermal map on the top floor. Old Man Chen is moving the goods. Be careful of technological interference. I will send a jammer program to paralyze their infrared light." Zhang Min turned the key, and the server door opened with a click. The screen inside flashed blue light. but suddenly it turned red. The infrared network was activated, and the air was filled with a pungent chemical smell. Old Chen laughed on the high platform. Minner, are you betraying me? This poisonous gas is the old formula of the Lotus Club, and your grandfather also smelled it back then. Zhang Min's face turned pale, but she grabbed Liu Wei's arm and gave him a small device, Xiaoqing's program. Plug it into the host quickly, and I'll block them. She turned around and pounced on a thug. Her elegant figure turned into a sharp blade, and knocked the opponent to the ground with a knee. Liu Wei rushed into the server room and quickly plugged in the USB flash drive with his fingers. Lin Xiaoqing's program spread like a virus, the infrared network buzzed, the poison gas valve got stuck, and the lights in the hall began to flicker. Tianyou took the lead in the counterattack at this time. He took out a spare flashlight from his waist and hit a bodyguard on the head. Captain Liu, police support is here. The deputy bureau led the team and surrounded it from the front door. All the SUVs at the pier were blocking it. The sirens outside were piercing and footsteps were pounding like rain. Through the surveillance screen, Liu Wei saw blue and white lights surrounding the club, and the black market men were retreating steadily. Zhiwei was handcuffed by 2 policemen, but Liu Wei waved. Wait a minute, he confessed to the top, take him to trial first. Zhiwei nodded, and the fear in his eyes turned into relief. Thank you, Officer Liu. Your father was caught in old man Chen's psychological warfare back then, and I won't let him play it again. The melee in the hall gradually subsided, and the overseas buyers were escorted away. Old Chen retreated to the elevator behind the high platform, sweat rolling down his scarred face. Boy, do you think you won? The black market is deep-rooted, and the secret passage of the Lotus Club leads to overseas. With my order, your team will be wiped out. Liu Wei approached step by step, his gun pointed steadily, and the images of the old photos in his mind were like a complete puzzle. His father's letter for help, old Chen's forged evidence, and the cycle of family grudges were all broken at this moment. He whispered, Old man Chen, your lies can't hold up any longer. The old photos connect everything. Your father's brothers are not fighting among themselves, but you are the murderer. The Liu family does not owe debts, it is you who owe life. Li Chen's forensic report, Zhiwei's chip record, and Zhang Min's diary are all confirmed. Psychological warfare? Come on, my father taught me that when facing ghosts, use the light of truth. Old Chen's eyes flickered and he tried to delay. The night your dad was in trouble, the fog in Shanghai was so thick. He thought he had taken over the Lotus Club, but he didn't know that I had a backup plan. The jade during the art week was not stolen, but a bomb, the program in the chip. Once triggered, Pudong will be in chaos. But Lin Xiaoqing's voice burst out from the intercom. Old Chen, don't scare people. Your chip, I cleared them all. It was not a bomb, it was a money laundering code, and all overseas transfers were frozen. There is a smuggling slip signed by you on the back of the old photo, and the evidence has been posted to the public security network. You can't escape. Old man Chen's face turned pale. The elevator door opened. He wanted to rush in, but Tianyou jumped at him from the side and tripped him with a sweeping kick. Old man, hold on. Captain Liu, this is your game. Liu Wei stepped forward and cuffed old Chen's wrists. The old wounds in his heart dissipated like mist. From the shadow of his childhood to the leader he is now, he has grown up. He is no longer fighting alone, but is the backbone of the team. Zhang Min came panting and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Officer Liu, the trap has been resolved. The server is down, and the dark network of the black market is completely disconnected. She handed over a piece of paper printed from the host, a scan of an old photo, showing in high definition the hidden ink, the blood oath of the Lotus Society, and the betrayal testimony written by old man Chen. Liu Wei nodded. Ms. Zhang, your contribution has come to an end. With the grudges over, it's time for the art world to be clean. The police rushed into the hall and took away the remaining men. The deputy director patted Liu Wei on the shoulder. Boy, you did a great job. We have sealed the helipad on the top floor and detained all the goods. Xiaoqing's data is ironclad. Tianyou grinned and wiped the ash from his face. Liu team, support each other, this feels really stable. From now on. Now that the storage is here, I have learned that you are a hero if you are not impulsive. Liu Wei smiled and looked out the window at the lights of the Huangpu River. Boy, that's what the team is doing. But the safe on the top floor has to be opened personally. The final mystery is waiting there. They rushed up the stairs. The elevator was broken, their footsteps echoing in the narrow passage. Old Man Chen was being held behind him, muttering curses, but Liu Wei did not look back. The secrets of the old photos have been completely solved, and the family cycle has been broken. His heart is like a light on the dock, illuminating the way forward. The door on the top floor was ajar, the wind blew into the helicopter pad, and under the night sky, the black market's fortress was about to collapse. The door on the top floor creaked in the wind. Liu Wei kicked it open, and the night wind mixed with the humidity of the Huangpu River hit his face. On the helipad, the lights were dim, and Old Man Chen's private helicopter was still parked there, its propeller idle, like an abandoned toy. The safe is embedded in the corner of the observation deck, and the steel door shines with the red light of the electronic lock. Liu Wei gasped, turned to Tianyou, who was guarding Old Man Chen, and said, "Boy, the code is 0315, locked by Shaoqing. Miss Zhang, you do it, this is your trick." Zhang Min nodded, his face pale but his eyes firm. She stepped forward, her fingers flying on the keyboard, and entered the password. The door opened with a click, and the drawer inside was pulled out, filled with documents and antique scrolls. The top one is the original yellowed old photo. The father's face is blurred at the edge of black and white, and the invisible ink on the back clearly emerges under the light. Old Man Chen's handwriting, crooked handwriting reads, "The Liu family is in bad luck, and there is a blood debt. The internal fighting in the Lotus Society was not my fault, but was framed by Liu's father." Liu Wei's heart sank and he grabbed the photo. Shadows from his childhood flashed through his mind, his father's old case, his mother's tears, and the family shackles that could never be broken. It's all a lie, a phantom of revenge. Old Man Chen, this is your irrefutable proof. Liu Wei turned around and pointed his gun at the old scarred face. Old Man Chen was handcuffed by Tianyou, struggling to laugh, and his voice was hoarse like the old Shanghai alley style. "Boy, when your father was running the Lotus Club, he thought he had captured the elders, but I had a backup plan. That photo? It was a trick I framed. The black market in the art world never catches everyone. In these scrolls, there are buyer lists from Southeast Asia. Once activated, your police station will have to face international trouble." His eyes were sinister, trying to delay, and moved towards the helicopter. Tianyou roared and pulled him back. "Old guy, don't be so stupid. Captain Liu, I took photos of these documents and recorded them. Shaoqing's program has been uploaded to the public security network and is frozen." As he spoke, he took out his mobile phone and swept the flashlight across the drawer. His movements were steady and he was no longer as reckless as a novice. Liu Wei nodded, feeling warm in his heart. This kid, from the impulsiveness of the storage warehouse to the current reliability, has spread the fire of the team. Suddenly, footsteps were heard from the stairs at the back. Two black market remnants came up from the secret passage, their guns pointed at Zhang Min. One of them shouted, "Minner, if you rebel, Grandpa Chen will not let you go." Zhang Min turned around, with an elegant gesture, grabbed the iron rod beside the safe to block the first shot, but the second shot grazed her shoulder, and the blood instantly stained her white shirt. She grunted, threw herself at the guy, knocked him to the ground with a knee, and took out the USB flash drive from her arms with her other hand. "Officer Liu, insert it into the helicopter's console. Inside is my last testimony, Old Man Chen's family diary, which is a list of his blood debts. Li Chen's death, Zhiwei's false certificate, and my grandfather's old grudges are all recorded. Hurry, stop him from activating the escape program." Liu Wei rushed forward, protected her, and opened fire to suppress the second remnant. Tianyou tripped the man by sweeping his legs, cuffed him and shouted, "Miss Zhang, hold on. Support is coming." Zhang Min slid and sat against the wall, bleeding profusely, but she forced a smile. "It's okay. This is my atonement. Old Man Chen has forced me to act for many years, thinking that he had squeezed my grandfather's handle, but I had prepared a backup plan. The testimony included his own admission of the murder of Li Chen and the truth about the internal strife in the Lotus Society. It was not the Liu family who had framed the situation, but he had monopolized the situation and silenced his brothers. Her voice trailed off and her eyes looked towards the night sky. It's time for the art world to be clean. Officer Liu, thank you for letting me see the light of justice. Liu Wei gritted his teeth and inserted the USB flash drive into the helicopter's dashboard. The screen flickered, and Lin Xiaoqing's voice came from the intercom. Captain Liu, received. The USB flash drive has been decrypted. I hacked into the system and froze all the transfer codes. Comparing the handwriting on the old photos, it was 100% that of old man Chen. He forged Father Liu's smuggling evidence to seduce your family. Revenge. Now, the report is all sealed. Poison analysis, Li Chen's chip records, black market transactions, all online. His Southeast Asian alliance has been intercepted by Interpol. The top-level thermal map shows that there is no other threat. The medical staff goes upstairs. Hold on. Old man Chen's face was ashen. He broke away from Tianyou for a moment, and rushed towards the dashboard to pull out the USB flash drive. No! You have ruined half of my life. The roots of the Lotus Society are overseas, and the Jades and the Art Week are just a cover, really. Before he could finish his words, Tianyou locked him in the back, pushing him to the ground. Old man, that's enough. Your psychological warfare has collapsed since I cut off the power. Team Liu, we won this game. Liu Wei stepped forward and put on the second pair of handcuffs. Old man Chen's curses turned into gasps, and the sweat on his scarred face rolled down like tears. The doctors rushed to the ground and carried Zhang Min away. She whispered on the stretcher, Officer Liu, the scroll of the safe, donate it to the museum to bring art back to the light. Liu Wei held her hand. Ms. Zhang, your sacrifice has made the whole city clean. I will do it. She nodded, closed her eyes, and her breathing gradually stabilized. It was not a fatal injury, but the testimony, like the last stroke, brought an end to the grudge. The police cordoned off the area, and the Deputy Bureau led a team to escort old man Chen and the remaining party members away. Zhiwei was taken to the top floor. The relief on his face deepened. Officer Liu, thank you. The original version of the old photo, my father's death, has also been cleared. The black market has collapsed. I will testify, all the charges. Liu Wei patted him on the shoulder. Boy, atonement starts from now. The art world needs a change like you. The night wind blew away the river fog, and the lights of the Huangpu River reflected in Liu Wei's eyes. He looked at Tianyou. The boy wiped the sweat from his forehead and grinned. Liu Captain, from the hot-blooded boy to here, I have learned not to be impulsive, so I can withstand it. Team, stable. Liu Wei smiled. Yes, boy. You are a reliable partner now. Xiaoqing's report has sealed all loopholes. Zhang Min's testimony has cut off the root cause. Old man Chen's conspiracy and serial theft plan have all stopped. The art world has come out of the fog. Lin Xiaoqing's voice came from the walkie-talkie. With tired joy, Team Liu, the summary report has been sent. The old photos have revealed the truth. The Liu family has no debts, and old man Chen's blood debt list has been exposed. He poisoned the elders of the Lotus Society, forged evidence about your father, and took revenge on your family. Li Chen's forensic abnormality and unnatural death all pointed to internal cleansing. The black market leader was arrested, overseas lines were cut, and the antique exhibition in Pudong is clean from now on. Rest, you are heroes. Liu Wei turned off the intercom and leaned against the railing. Holding the old photo in your hand, the hidden ink stains are as calm as river water. My father's face is no longer a shadow, but a beacon. From the trauma he suffered when he was a child, to now, he has grown up. He no longer carries the grudges alone, but leads the team to break the cycle. A tougher detective, guarding the neon lights and secrets of this city. The victory of justice is not the end, but the beginning of a new game. He took a deep breath of the river breeze, turned around and went downstairs. Tianyou followed, walking in sync with each other like brothers. The fortress of the black market finally collapsed before the morning light.